throws, and it's intercepted. It's intercepted by number 22. That's Clifton. He's got the left edge. Turns on the Jets. Still on his feet. Touchdown, Calaveras. What a play. Up to a running back. That's Ferrante over to the right side. He cuts back up the middle. He's got room. One man to beat. He turns on the Jets. There he goes. Touchdown, Calaveras. What a play.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Football with Coach Val. I'm your host, Gil Valtierra, the voice of Calaveras football. This episode, we dive into a new topic, which is offensive football. I could not be more excited to have my special guest here with me today, legendary offensive line coach Scott Anderson and head varsity football coach at Calaveras High School, Mr. Manny Mosa.
Let's go.
Thanks, guys, for being here. I appreciate it. How you guys doing today?
Great.
Doing good.
Good. Coach Anderson is entering his 34th year on the sideline, and Coach Mosa, his second year as head varsity football coach, but obviously, what's it been? How many years you been coaching?
I think we're at 20.
So 20 years, second year as head coach, 20 years overall. I cannot be more excited. I love it when we start getting into the X's and O's of things, and when Coach Clark was here doing the defensive side of things, I was excited to do that one. That one went very nicely. And now we're going to, what would you used to call it, Coach Anderson? The Riverside, turn to the other side.
Take it to the other side of the ball.
Other side of the ball. So now we're going to work the other side of the ball and talk a little X's and O's on the offensive side. And like all football coaches will tell you, it all starts up front. And so we're going to start up front, and we're going to start with you, Coach Anderson. You're the O-line coach. And so I want you to tell me from that very first guy, other than the quarterback, the only other guy that gets to touch the ball every single play often is that center.
Yeah.
So what are you looking for from the center as far as body type, size, and other than snapping, differentiate what he has to do that's different than the other offensive linemen?
Well, so basically we're looking for a guy with a heartbeat, number one, right? Somebody that's going to give us everything they have. Got to be one of the smartest kids on the team. I'm not really too concerned about size. I want a guy that's gritty, wrestler type guy, like Coach Clark was saying, kind of a nose guard type of guy that can handle his own in a phone booth,
Sure.
He's got to, get the fits for pass pro and talk about, fronts as they see him and adjust. He's kind of the guy.
So when I see a center, and unless, for the layman out there that don't know a whole lot about the X's and O's, and you're like, okay, yeah, he snaps the ball to the quarterback, after that, what does he do? So, like, does he also have blocking responsibilities? Does he, what else does he have to do besides get that snap off?
So that guy's got probably the hardest job on the football field, other than the head football coach, organizing these knuckleheads out there daily. He's got guys that line up in one spot, and they're going to move, what we call stem from right to left, on first sound or whatever you have it. And he's got to adjust this blocking scheme accordingly. And all of the communication goes through him, right? So he's going to make all the calls. His eyes are on linebackers. His eyes are on D tackles, nose guards, A gap, B gap, one technique, two, whatever. And he makes those adjustments on the fly, right? And now he's got to remember the snap count. He knows the play. He's got to remember the snap count. And then he's got to get that goddamn thing off.
Yeah.
And block somebody that's in a two technique, in the gap to his left side, and he's a right-handed snap guy. It's got to be a bitch, man.
Right.
It's got to be a bitch. But that's my dude, man. That guy is my dude.
And let's face it, the play don't start till he says so, right?
Right. Yeah.
So from there, and for those of you listening out there, we're starting off with the offensive line. So when the team's on offense, the center grabs that ball, he's going to snap it to the quarterback to start that offensive play. The two players immediately to his left and right are the guards. left guard, right guard. In Calaveras, we call them quick and strong guards.
Right.
Coach, let's transition a little bit now. Let's look to the guards. What are you looking for out of your guards? Same kind of thing. Body style, type. What does he need to be? You know, what are his objectives?
You know, in an ideal world, you know, in the Central Catholic world of things, you're going to get a, 6'3", 280-pound grinder in there, but we don't get those guys here, right? So we get the, again, wrestling type kids, 5'8", 5'9", 210, guys that are going to, give everything they've got, in and out of plays. Strong side guards basically are our combo guy. We double down, single, double, triple, whatever we're doing there. But his eyes, he's listening to the center's account of the play, I guess you would call it. I don't know. And then he goes off of that. If the center says single, double, triple, whatever it is, his eyes are on the linebacker, number one.
Okay.
And if that linebacker, decides, he's going to move a gap or with motion, slide with motion, he's got to see that and adjust his blocking scheme accordingly.
So it sounds like the centers is almost like the quarterback of the O-line, right?
Absolutely.
So he's kind of calling blocking. The guards are listening to him. So they're kind of looking for the center as a leader to say, hey, who am I getting on this play, right?
Right. Yeah. So basically our center guy, we try to train these guys into down and distance so the quarterback in the huddle knows what's going on. So I tell my centers, I said, you got to look at the sticks and let the quarterback know down and distance. We can't do it for him. So they're constantly looking at the sidelines and, whether he's a yard or two off, it doesn't matter. At least it's getting translated into the huddle. And if the backs are listening, for instance, we've had a couple of instances in past years where, it's 4th and 1 and a kid wants to do a wiggle and, a spin move when it's a 1 yard, drop your hat and go play. And so if you kind of plant that seed early, and the kids are actually listening in the huddle, they may drop their hat and get that 1 yard.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
So
it's funny. I mean, I think from the outside looking in, I look back. I've been coaching with Coach Anderson since I think about 2008. Right. Every successful football team we had, team that reached the playoffs, went deep into the playoffs. Every one of them had a great center.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that. And good center. Not real big. None of them are very big.
Athletic.
210, maybe tops, 215 tops. Athletic, but smart.
So last section title appearance, Eli Tom, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So, he was smart. So, important to have something in between the ears if you're going to play center other than being able to snap the ball.
Yeah. Well, Eli always thought he was either a fullback or a tight end too. So, we got to go with that. He didn't really want to put his hand in the dirt. But
I always felt like all the guards felt like, I have to play guard because, I should have been a fullback. I should have been.
Yeah.
So,
Well, right. That's kind of how it worked, right? If you were the second string fullback, you're going to guard.
Right.
Yeah. They're kind of go hand in hand. Yeah. So let's move on from the guards. Let's move now one more player outside of them. And so for all of you out there listening, center snaps the ball. The guy to his left and right are the guards. Now the guy to those left and right of those guards, we call the left tackle, right tackle, or the quick tackle and the strong tackle.
Right.
Let's talk about what you're expecting from them. I'm thinking it's a little different than the guards.
Yeah. So let's backtrack a little bit.
Sure.
Here. So let's go to the quick guard. Our quick guard's our puller, man. He's our power O guy. He's kind of a little more athletic, kind of a U-back that can't carry the ball. He's the guy that's going to dig somebody out, on a power O or a kick play or just a simple trap. Ryan Upchurch comes to my mind. He was really good at that. He was a freaking another wrestler, right?
Mm-hmm.
He would just run into people and just happen to do the right thing. So we're looking for a guy that's able to turn the corner and put his eyes on a linebacker that may be filling. But to your question, the strong tackle, and again, he's going to be a double team, with a helper, either by a guard or a tight end guy. Again, another smart kid, because there's all kinds of scenarios that we put in formation wise that indicates if he's single or a double, or a triple, what we call it. But he's got a hard job too. These guys nowadays, they get in the wide 9, they call them, I don't know what the hell that is, but they get out there and they try to, dip and rip and shit. We just
all of a sudden they got somebody way out there.
Yeah. And I'm like, don't worry about that guy. We're running right here. Shit, he ain't gonna make a play, right? But yeah, he's a tough guy. We need a mauler there, and I think we've got one. Spiritu is our tackle this year. He kind of came around at the end of the year, and boy, and he's in the weight room every day now, and he's getting bigger and stronger, and we're looking for some good things out of that kid.
Nice. Quick
tackle wise, that's another guy that it's kind of a hybrid wrestler type guy, man. We're not. I mean, we're kind of like the De La Salle of the old days type of football. We want the kind of the same guys across the board. Hey, we get a 6'6" kid. Fuck, by all means, we're gonna put him in and make a play. Some bitch is gonna make plays, right?
You're kidding,
right? Yeah. But we're not that lucky to have those guys. If we get them, great. We'll use them accordingly. But that's another wrestler type guy that's gonna scoop the backside from our sweep. And when we run sweep that way, we put a big load on his shoulders. He's got to handle his man or man outside of him, and then climb to linebacker and
And he's kind of that quick tackle. And by the way, folks, you're out there listening, the difference between the quick tackle and the strong tackle. The strong tackle's lined up. He's got a tight end over there, and that extra person, that tight end, makes him a strong tackle. The quick side, you could say, is the weak side. He's the opposite side of the tight end.
Right.
But there ain't nothing weak about Calaveras football, so we don't ever say weak.
Right.
We say the quick side.
Yeah.
So that quick tackle is kind of out on an island.
Man, always.
Yeah.
Always. When the guard pulls away, he's got a down block, scoop that 3 technique inside, cut him. We've had some kids. What was that? Caleb Steffes back in the day.
Yes.
He went against, he went back and forth across the line of scrimmage during the playoffs. He was like a guard, and he was a quick guard, strong guard. And then one of our tackles went down, and we happened to play Marysville. We played Marysville, and they had this 6'6" son of a bitch out there. And he was Steph was
5'7", and a half.
With heels on, right? And I like we looked at him on film, and I said, Steph, just get into him and just do the best you can, and he did pretty well. He
was a tough kid.
Yeah. And they've got heart. We've got another one, Jorn. He hadn't played football since Pop Warner this year, and Jorn came in this year, and he's kind of the same build, but that son-of-a-bitch has got a motor, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And we seen all league, the other coaches seeing it too.
Yeah.
I mean, he come in, beginning of the year, I tell Scotty, I don't know about this guy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's going to make it.
Right.
Well, he made it, and he continued on.
Yeah.
He got moved around a little bit, but he found a spot. Other coaches seen it, and he played both sides of the ball too, offense and defense.
Right.
Other coaches seen it.
Yeah, he's going to be a stalwart, as they used to say back in the day. He's going to be one of our guys.
Yeah,
good for sure. Good, Coach. Would you say, those guards like you said before, they're pulling, they're doing lots of different things. The tackles, maybe not so much. Is there a significant difference in maybe the footwork between the guards and tackles that maybe one might play guard more than tackle because of that footwork? Or?
Man, yeah. You've got to be able to, so in our offense, so we flip the line. Our formation, we go right and left.
Mm-hmm.
Strong side, weak side, and our entire line will go one way. So all of the kids have to understand that they have to use their right foot and left foot. You can't be weak at one area and I can't step with my right foot. They've got to do it,
right?
And we have to find dudes that do it. Those cats have to do it. So, there isn't. You've got to be able to root those suckers out. That's kind of the point.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Let's move on now to that unicorn, I'll call him, over there at the end of the line there, right? Which is what we call our tight end. Is the goal to always find one guy that could both catch and block to be the tight end? Or does sometimes you just find with having two different guys, that's our blocking tight end and that's our receiving tight end? And what do you think about that?
Well, in a perfect world, we can have that guy, the Shane Torrey kid. He was really good. He was probably one of the best tight ends we've ever had.
Guy Dawsey would adamantly agree.
Yeah, yes, he would. But Shane, he half-assed it in high school, but he learned how to block in college, he played D1 football up there and
Humboldt, right?
Humboldt State, yeah. He was one of the best. He's another wrestler,
right. You mean they play football at Humboldt, man?
Right.
I didn't totally awesome.
Oh, hacky sack or something. But I don't know, man. Honestly, a tight end is one drop pass from being a tackle. So
Gotcha.
all you tight ends out there, you better catch the damn ball.
Gotcha. So let's talk a little bit about, people that watch football on Sundays, they see the Travis Kelce's and they see all these guys tight ends and they're catching touchdown passes and they're dating pop stars and they're doing all this other crap. But in high school football, the tight end is probably just an extra lineman a lot of the times, right? And so they've got to be offensive linemen, right?
I mean, if he can't block, he's not going to be on the field.
Yeah.
But that also can be said for every other position on the field besides maybe the quarterback. Receiver can't block, he won't be on the field either, running back. So, I mean, for me, I think we look at guys, okay, he's got the size, he's got the build, he can play that position, he can run, he can move. Can he block? If he can block, okay, let's go from there.
Right. Okay, so, we got the centers, we got the guards, we get the tackles after them, we get the tight ends, so that composes the offensive line. We're going to move on to the backs. And Coach Mosa, we're going to switch over a little to you with that. So when I say backs, I mean quarterback, fullback, U-back, and then even the Z-back, which for Calaveras, that's normal, but for other people, they'd be like, isn't that a receiver, right? And we'll get there and we'll talk a little bit about those hybrid spots. But let's start with the other guy that touches the ball every single play, with the backs. Let's start with the quarterback. What are you looking for when you're looking for your starting quarterback as far as, size and demeanor and mentality and characteristics and all of that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, number one, he's got to be smart. He's got to be smart. I mean, Coach Anderson's gotten on me a few times on some of our play calls. They get out there a little bit, So he's got to be able to know the play call and say all the syllables that are in it. Demeanor. You want someone that's confident, and not cocky but confident. Somebody the rest of the team knows they're going to get in there, step in there, do the best job they possibly can. But I would say more than anything, I think it's brains.
You got to be smart.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll be tough too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, everybody's trying to come after you every single play. You got to keep getting back up and do it again.
Hey, man. If we don't have an offensive line, he's going to have to be tough.
So. I've always felt like when I played, I was a back offensively, and I was struggling to just remember my plays. Right. So then it was like I knew when I heard that play, like, oh, that's me. I'm getting the ball. Right. That's your number. It's called being called. You get your number called. Right. You know that play. But that didn't mean I had to know everybody else's plays.
Right.
The quarterback has to know everybody's plays, right? He knows where they're supposed to be lined up, where who's getting it, who's not. He's trying to read a defense. He's trying to maybe fake one way and actually give it another. So he's almost like a coach on the field.
Yeah, a lot of mistakes are they're fixed before they happen because the quarterback knows what's going on. Mainly alignment issues. But yeah, we throw the ball. Hey, we got 2, 3, 4 guys out in the route. He knows where all those guys are supposed to be,
right?
And receivers, they only know where they're supposed to be,
right?
So it's a big deal, and there's a lot on it, And I think it goes back to what you guys were saying with the O line, with his cadence, his snap count. When do I tell the center to snap it?
Right.
I mean, all of the above. There's a whole bunch to it.
So brain's obviously important because you've got to be smart. You got to learn everybody's responsibilities, all the plays. Let's talk about the athletic, the agility. You got to be able to drop back. You got to be able to throw. You've got to be able to hand off. You've got to be able to maneuver. all of those things. Talk to me about the athletic part of what you're looking at them.
Yeah, I think the what more can you do? I mean, we can come up with our system. We can come up with all kinds of plays. We could hit every route. We could hit every hole, every gap. Motions, fly motions, orbit motions, you name it, right? But what can the quarterback do? Is the quarterback fast? Can he move? Okay, well, let's design some quarterback run plays. Is he a big guy? Right? Does he, get up there and he can run the ball? Okay, great. Well, let's go ahead and run him inside the tackles a little bit. Can he get out of the pocket? Can he throw the ball? Yeah, this guy can throw the ball. Okay, well, let's throw the ball a little bit more. So I think the more athletic the quarterback is, the more things he can do, the more we can throw into our offensive game planning.
So based on that athletic ability, that dictates what you got in your playbook and what you can do and can't do.
Yeah.
Well, the kid has to work too. He just can't show up on May 15th and just decide he's going to, throw, dimes.
Right.
He's got to do it on his own.
Yeah.
He's got to bring his friends out to the ballpark and if you really want it,
Yeah.
go get it.
Put in the time.
Yeah.
Put in the,
we're there for him, but that's the kid that has to put in the time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the leader of the team too, right? That's the guy that's going to rally when shit hits the fan.
Yeah, I mean, nobody talks in that offensive huddle but him, right? So he's kind of leading the group.
Yeah. And off the field too. You want your O line and your fullback and your, even the scout guys. You want them to rally around that cat, right?
Sure.
So
I think back to Garrett Bach. He wasn't an overly fast guy, not a big guy. Threw the ball well, give him that, but he outworked everybody.
He did.
He worked just as hard, if not harder than everybody. And there was a couple of times he got the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah.
But he never stayed down.
Yeah.
And everybody's seen that.
And you know what they also remember is he was the first one in the weight room during the summer and the last one to leave.
Yes, he was.
Yep.
Yep. Yes, he was.
Yeah.
So that has a lot to do with it. Just you're showing by example. I'm going to put in the work.
Exactly.
And when it's late in the season and we're still practicing on Thanksgiving, I'm going to keep getting up. So you guys work with me.
Yeah. And I think you said it. We live in a world now where there's a lot put on words. But if you can lead by example, that's a whole other story right there.
That's right. Okay. So big position quarterback. Let's move on to the U's and Z's. Mm-hmm. So for you folks out there going, well, what does that mean? The U is the halfback, which is that running back, that's the farthest away from the quarterback. And the Z back is sort of a slot receiver. He lines up like a slot receiver, but in the fly offense, he's almost always in motion towards the quarterback and possibly may take the sweep from the quarterback. Sometimes he gets it, sometimes he doesn't, and then that U-back gets it instead of that sweeper. So there's a lot of that misdirection there, and that's whole part of the characteristics of the fly offense. So let's talk about both the U's and Z's. They seem like they're completely different positions, but there's some similarities there, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think both need to be able to run sweep. There's no question there. I think the difference is U-backs, they're asked to run in between the tackles. And we don't ask the Z to run in between the tackles too often. That being said, we have before when that Z can do it, you know.
Right.
But I think that would be, if there was a difference, I think that would be it. Z-backs, they got to be fast. They got to be fast. I mean, if we don't have a fast Z-back, the fly motion's it's a tough one to run.
I mean, one could argue that the whole primary weapon of the fly offense is the Z-back and attacking the perimeter, right? I mean, that's the whole purpose of the fly.
It's predicated on that. So the fly offense is, you want to get guys spread out so you can run inside, right? That's kind of how it was all designed. And if you can, like Manny said, if you can successfully run the sweep, man, that's going to take 3 or 4 guys out of the inside play.
Yeah, those backers see him going. They're like, oh, there he goes again. And then all of a sudden, if a backer, inside backer, sees sweep and he vacates his area to go attack it, and it wasn't sweep, there's going to leave a big gap there right in the middle of the field.
Man. Yeah. So we see that on the sidelines, and we see Mike Backer and Wanda Backer flying. We're like, oh, shit, let's go. Run it. Let's go. Yeah.
I had Coach Weatherby in here. and he talked about Billy Baker, the head coach over at Amador, and he said it just used to kill him because we'd run sweeps so well that we wouldn't necessarily score all the time, but we'd have success with it. But then the biggest scoring play we ever had was go,
Right.
which is just that dive right off of the sweep action. And he goes, it just sounds like the silliest damn thing that they would have so much success off a play that's just right up the gut.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So let's the U's and Z's.
Yep.
We've talked about what they have to do. What are you looking for? Body type, athleticism. Clearly they have to have speed. What about, ball protection, toughness? To me, I always think about, I like the guy to be able to break some tackles and keep running as opposed to every time the first guy get there, he just goes down, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And Coach said it too, what we want, what we get. Sometimes they're two different things. Toughness, I think we could say that about every position. That's Calaveras football, I think. We want every player to be tough. Calaveras football's been tough for a long time. So, and that's what we're trying to get back to.
That's kind of just in the genetics, right? The DNA.
Yeah. We got to be a tough football team. I don't care if we go 0-10. We got to make sure that team doesn't want to play us next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, of course, you want big and fast. That there's no question there. But it's not a deal breaker. We've had some great running backs that are not overly fast, and we've had some great running backs that aren't very big. I think Ferrante, his story's still being written, but he's not a very big guy, but he runs like he is.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of DBs that are stepping in front of him.
Wrestler.
I like the correlation. I see where this is going.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, and you think back to some of our other really good running backs. We'll go back all the way to like Kellen Hodson. He wasn't overly big, 165 pounds maybe, but he ran the ball very well. He
did.
was tough. He never went backwards.
He had good vision. He knew where it was supposed to go, where the hole would be.
Yeah. I mean, even Monty Wilson. I think Monty Wilson played at about 170.
Yeah.
I mean, decent size.
Right.
But not overly big, and he wasn't overly fast either. But he was good.
Yeah.
I think that's where the toughness comes in.
I think the combination between he had decent speed, but he had decent size, and that combination kind of made him lethal.
Yeah.
And he's a worker.
Yeah.
He worked his tail
hard,
off. Yeah. San Andres boy, too.
East San Andreas.
It's East Side. He was an East Side San Andres guy. That's right.
Let's move on. You were talking about big. Let's move on to that other back we call the fullback.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
It's almost a dying breed. You hardly ever see him in the NFL, sometimes in college. Let's talk about the fullback. What are you looking for there, and what kind of role does he play in the fly offense?
His role's huge. I mean, we've had games where a fullback was the lead runner, in terms of carries and yards. I mean, we've had it. We have those plays. It's just a matter of what's working. Fullback's usually a little bit bigger of a guy. When we're running our lead plays, our ISOs or whatnot, we want that guy to get in there and show that linebacker what's up.
Right.
And that's what we want him to do.
Right.
Go ahead and establish your will in the game here. Okay, let's win the game right here.
Right.
Right on our own 25-yard line, first drive of the. Let's win it right here.
Right.
But sometimes running our sweeps, putting a U back in there to run out there and sweep block a DB on the outside. Sometimes we don't want a big guy there. Sometimes we want someone that's got good feet that can get out there, block a DB who doesn't really want to take you on, right? He wants to shed you. He wants to go around you.
Right.
But it just really depends on what we're doing. It's nice to have some options, but we've had some guys, fullbacks, that they did it all,
Yeah.
I think, let me think back here. Donovan Giangregorio played a little fullback for a while. He was very good at it, but we needed him up front.
Yeah.
So we had to put him at center.
It's true.
I'll never forget the play. He was playing guard, by the way, against, I was over in Amador at the time.
You're talking about G?
Gee, yeah. So it's like 3rd or 4th and 2. You guys are going for it over here at Calaveras. I wasn't with you guys then. And the kid gets kind of muddled up at the line of scrimmage. G grabs him and drags him backwards for the first down. The kid didn't get it on his own. G made it on his single most impressive play I've ever seen in football.
By the way, folks, wrestler.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, still.
Yeah.
Still in Oregon State. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
We had him in a podcast.
Then right after that sumbitch, you guys put him at fullback, and he methodically ran 2-yard pops right down the football field to win the football game.
Over and over. Run it again. Run it again.
Just gut punched all the way to the end zone. Got that crucial first down and got the win.
How demoralizing is that for a team that knows the play's coming, but they can't stop it?
Yeah.
And here it comes again, but they can't stop it.
Yep.
Best feeling when you're on the winning side of that, man.
Right.
Best feeling.
It's like the PG&E bill. You know it's coming, but you can't stop it.
All right, so let's talk about the X receiver. He's kind of out there on an island in the fly offense. Sometimes you think, that's that extra spot, right? But over the years in the fly offense, Calaveras, I think of Connor Sewell. I think of some great X receivers that we had that had fantastic seasons. Tell me what you need out of the X, what you're looking for there. And folks, I can tell you right now, besides, going out there and catching long, deep touchdown passes, coach is going to say something about blocking.
Oh, well, no question. I think back to Connor Sewell. Connor really helped, stretch the field. He was very fast. He ran very good routes. He very rarely would drop a ball. He caught almost everything. So, that's always a good thing if you can stretch the field with one guy, it's real easy from a play calling standpoint when you're saying, hey, let's go ahead and just throw it up to number 8 there.
Right.
That makes things pretty easy.
Right.
When you can do that and it's successful.
Yeah.
You don't have to formation them open or run routes to get them open.
And it helps in the run game too. You run him on a vert.
Yep.
It's going to take the safety over the top.
Corner's going with him.
Corner's got his head up his ass. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and you can run sweep with one guy to block out there. That's, 7-8 yards.
But the thing about Connor, he was a great receiver. He was a great blocker.
Right.
Great blocker. Great sweep blocker. Got into guys, drove them wherever he needed to drive them.
Jesus Christ.
Great blocker.
I'm going to take that as you couldn't agree more.
Yeah. He's my guy.
I've always said the difference between a 4-yard run and a 40-yard run was blocking down the field.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where if you're an X receiver, you're some of these guys that are down the field, take that to heart. If you're a running back and you get that 40-yard run, go thank your X receiver because he's got to be able to do his job down the field.
Yep.
So the one thing about Connor, and I call him Connie, he would watch film and know where those guys lined up, and he would adjust that blocking angle to help us out. It was pretty amazing. I don't know if he knew he was doing it, but it was just like he would adjust his spacing to
whether it need to be inside shade, outside shade,
make his block a little easier for him. And all you need to do is kind of get a wing on a kid out there for a 2 count and
right.
Shit, our stuff's gone.
That's one thing you can say about all 4 of those Sewell boys. Whatever their job was, they were going to do the best possible job at it. Whether it was blocking or running, it didn't matter. They were going to do a good job.
Yeah, that was a good group right there.
That was a great group of guys. That was a great group of guys.
Yeah.
So we talked earlier a little bit about how the U back and the Z back had some similarities there as far as both being kind of running backs. Let's apply that same principle with the Z and the X because a lot of times in formations, they're lined up right next to each other like a slot receivers, right? And sometimes that Z, the slot receiver, doesn't go in motion for the fly. And now we've got a couple slot 2 receivers going out in patterns, and suddenly the Z backs, he's a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Tell me about like that dynamic, and as far as can an X play a Z and can a Z play the X, and how does all that work?
Oh, absolutely. We've done it.
Okay.
Yeah, we've done it. Just depends on the player.
That was kind of Jay's baby. He would like, I don't know what he called it, invert, whatever that was back in the day.
Yeah, Connor played a little bit of Z. No question there. Who else we had that year? Chris
Ussery?
Jones. Yeah, Ussery. Yeah. He could play anywhere in the field.
Yeah,
he's one of those players.
He was a great Z. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, not all guys can do it. You know, I mean, some Z-backs, they're strictly runners, you know, but
Right.
but for the most part, you know,
Right.
most of these kids are athletic. If they really want to do it,
Yeah.
they'll do it.
You know, talking about Chris Ussery, if we would have asked him to play guard,
No.
he would have played guard.
Yep.
He would have dug dudes out, man. He would have just got into them, but
Yeah.
thank God we didn't have to.
We had a group like that one year, and I forget, you know, some of the guys' names, you know, Matson and Anthony, Gene Gregorio, Donovan's older brother, and they would come play defense. I was a D-line coach, I think, at that time, and we would have a package, and we called it NASCAR, right? So, like, instead of all these big, huge defensive linemen that were plugging holes, stop and run, when they got into, you know, 3rd and 15, and we knew clearly this is a passing situation, we'd go NASCAR, and these little guys went in there and they played the defensive line, and they would just be through the backfield so damn quick. That quarterback was like, "Oh shit!"
Hey,
He's
so-
got all these guys running after him.
So as an offensive line guy, right, you see you're going against a 260, 240, 230, 210 guy, and all of a sudden you see this like 200 or 140-pound guy lined up there, like, oh shit,
What's he doing here?
And then there's one over here. They're like, you know, you ever watch those World War II movies? They got the, you know, the Mustangs, wow, wow, you know, and we got the B-17 bombers or whatever those fuckers are flying, and these are and they're taking people out. It's awesome.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun just to be able to have that flexibility and move guys around and get them. When you talk about Ussery going and playing O-line, and you know what, he probably would have did a good job.
Yeah, he'd be an all-leaguer.
I've seen it before.
Yeah.
I've seen it before. I've seen you do some magic with some of those guys, Coach.
Yeah.
So hey, let's put it all together now. We talked about up front. We talked about our centers, the guards, the tackles, the tight end, the quarterback, all our running backs, the receiver. So now we're like, okay, we've gone into, you know, a coach's meeting. We've picked our 11 guys in the offense. Here's who they are. Now we need to get them game ready. What do you think, you know, what helps and what, like, just getting them game ready as soon as possible? Do you focus first on, like, inside runs, 7-on-7, or go straight first full team getting reps? What do you focus on first to say this is going to help us get ready as soon as we can?
So are we talking like week 1 of the season?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say right now, I think, you know, up front, we got to be ready up front.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and I think, you know, whatever Coach Anderson says, you know, hey, look, this is what I think we can do this week. You know, we think we can run this, we can run that. You know, we should be able to pass pro this. We work off of that.
Okay.
That to me, that's the most important thing. Because if you can't get it done up front, nothing's going to work.
Right.
Nothing. It doesn't matter how good your running backs are, your quarterbacks. None of that matters. You got to be able to handle it up front.
And inevitably, you get your line set, and somebody's calls in sick,
Right.
and you got to bring in, you know,
All of a sudden, you know,
you got to look over your shoulder and go, all right,
who's next?
yep, let's go. Who was listening last week, right?
Who's up? Who's
Yeah.
ready? Who's been paying attention?
Yeah, and that's early on.
Yeah.
But once we get into league, we're pretty set in who the cats are, and you know who you can count on,
Yeah.
who wants to learn the plays and who doesn't really want to learn the plays. And I think that the biggest misconception parent-wise is why doesn't he play offense? Well, shit, man, that's pretty complicated. Our offense is pretty complex, man.
Right.
If you think about it. And we ask these guys to flip, again, talking about the O-line.
Right.
You know, normally if you're a right side tackle, you're just going to step left every time and down block. Now we flip you and we ask you to step right, you know. And
There's a lot of moving parts, and you got to pay attention. And then week by week, besides, like, we have the base plays. This is what we need to know. Here's our basic tools in the toolbox. But then all of a sudden, we see something on film for our next opponent and go, hey, we need to really run this instead. Now we got to install that, right? And if you don't show up,
hopefully we already have that
Right.
kind of in our toolbox,
right?
and we can just kind of dust it off and go. We really, I'm probably speaking for Manny now, but we really don't go off script too much. We don't get too crazy, you know.
Try not to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
I mean, there's well, let's talk about that. Let's look at that. So let's say we talked about, you asked me, you talk about week 1, like we're going to, when you go into week 1, is it more of a, hey, this is what we run, this is our offense, this is what we're going to do, as opposed to, say, middle of the season, now you're more game planning on what your opponent's doing and what you have to maybe change a little bit and tweak a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, week 1, we want to do this. This is what we do.
Right.
Week 4 or 5 might be a different story.
Right.
Yeah. We want to do it, man. We just can't quite do that. Very
Based
well.
on what they're doing, we're gonna have to tweak this a little bit.
Yeah. Week 1, we're gonna find out who's gonna shit their pants, and then we'll go from there.
All right. And who does that but stays out there and keeps playing anyways?
Right? Yeah.
That's a great
I
point.
mean,
right
you've seen kids just break down mentally, and they're getting their tails kicked.
I'll say this. Last year, obviously first year, right? A little bit of coaching shakeup, and obviously, I've been around, but I'm a new head coach. But going to Central Catholic for our scrimmage, I think, is really good for our kids. We know we're going up against top tiered competition,
right?
And you know what? Last year we did okay. We held our own, and we got out with no injuries.
Right. And it wasn't just Central too. We went against Turlock and Buhack Colony. Yeah, I mean,
big schools
with a lot of D1 commits and
right. And our kids,
we battled.
They bring the hay, man. They're gonna pop your ass. So
well, and to me, I think when we do that, we see that type of competition, and then we come in. Okay, now it's a real game, right? A little different story, but we're better. We're more ready for that. For the competition.
Right.
We've seen this. I've gone up against a 280-pound lineman before, or whatnot. So I dig it, Roger. We're going back again this year, so I like
good.
it.
That's good. That's going to be a lot of fun. Tell me a little bit about Coach. Let our listeners, kind of eavesdrop into some practices for offensive practices, because let's think about an offensive play, right? Mm-hmm. You got the formation, which is here's how you line up, right? For all you out there listening, what's a formation? This is how they line up before the ball's even snapped. Do we have 2 receivers on one side and 1 on the other side, 3 to one side and 1 on the other side, 1 back, 2 backs? How are we lined up? That's called the formation. Now, a lot of schools have lots of different formations. Some schools come out, they run 1 or 2. Calaveras, we have quite a few different formations. Mm-hmm. So you got to teach them the formations. Then after the ball snap, there's the actual play. Here's the play we want to run. So the formation is how we're lined up. The play is after the ball snapped, what we're trying to do, who gets the ball, where we're going, all that good stuff. Then you got what's the cadence? Is it on 1? Is it on 2?
Timing.
Then we time it. Then we got check. So wait a minute. If that linebacker's starting to blitz, we're going to check to this. So you have all of this going on. How do you go about going, all right, let's teach these kids all this stuff now?
Yeah, piece by piece. I think that's what's good about. You got to have good coaches. Coach Anderson running the O-line. We had a lot of good coaches last year. Coach Mike Sewell, Connor Sewell, Jake Moat, Doug Clark. We're able to, hey, you take these guys, let's do this. Hey, you take these guys, let's do this. And we share the burden. And, we take each position. We get more reps. We teach the formations, the adjustments, then the runs. We go into different groups before we even come together. Gotcha. And of course we come together and, hey, let's slow it down.
Let's put it all together now. Right.
Let's do it. Okay. Looks good. Let's get with it.
So it's like, let's build the tires. Let's build the frame.
Yeah.
Let's do all the pieces.
Yeah.
And then now let's put this whole sucker together and try to ride it.
Well, Manny and I and Doug and Coach Weatherby as well, we've been, and you, of course, we coach so long together. We kind of have this inherent, I don't know what it's like this ESP thing, that you can what the other guy's thinking and it's a hand signal.
That's right.
Just get the fuck out of here.
That way my wife finishes my sentences
right,
for me and all that stuff.
Right. So early on, Manny had his way of doing things, but it was ultimately the same system. We knew it was just a matter of his time blocks that we had to get things done.
Right.
And the more time, the merrier with my guys. So I could sit over there all day and block the sled and So
I think if you take a look at our practice last year and practices from say 08, 09, I don't think they're a lot different.
No.
Yeah.
Besides, I think defensive practices, we work more on form tackling, getting the head out now, right? It's a little bit different now. But other than that, I think our practices are pretty darn close to the same. I mean, honestly, what I have is regurgitated information from Scott and Jason Weatherby and you and Doug and Roger. I mean, that's really what it is.
So what's really cool is we went up to Reno a couple weeks back to a football clinic, and there was the curator of the creator of the fly football,
Coach Speckman,
the fly offense, and we had a chance to sit in and get affirmation of what we're running.
Yeah.
We were all sitting in there as a staff. Pop Warner guys were in there as well. And everything that those old timers said about that offense, we're still speaking the same language.
Exactly.
Right? And it actually makes you feel like, all right, we're doing the right thing. We're teaching the right stuff. We don't call it jet. We call it fly sweep. It's not a jet motion, and those types of things that drive you nuts watching an NFL game. You see the fly.
See exact play we run. They call it the jet sweep.
And you're like, God damn it, that's not it.
That's the fly sweep.
Yeah, right. So
It's funny you mentioned that because during that trip, I talked with Coach Speckman, and so he's agreed to do a podcast in a couple of weeks, and we're going to have Coach Speckman on, and we're going to go over, history of the fly, why he loves it, and we're going to dissect the fly offense with Coach Speckman.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that.
That's been a good one.
Yeah, and he was talking our same language. He was, and then we get into the Rip and Christian thing, and he's got, Zulu right X. Come over, let's jump shot. Jordan.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the F is that? But it's the same. It's green sweep. Right. He just calls it.
They just kind of put their own language to it. Yeah. It's kind of funny how somebody can grab an offense and then start to add like their own little nuances to it, and then someone else grabs that.
Yeah.
And then they do the same thing, and then next thing you know, a few years later, you're like, I don't even recognize what that is anymore.
I love the fact that we're with. It's like following the Grateful Dead, what do they call those Grateful Deadheads, right?
Right.
We're just like a fly deadhead group.
Yeah, we're like, but we're back, man.
Hey, buddy. Yeah, it's funny. We all aged and he didn't.
So,
Right. Yeah. I love his, he takes a very simple approach too. He's a college coach. He's been multiple colleges, does very well.
Little pro there for a little bit with the Canadian League.
But his approach is simple, which I feel, look, the games we lost, the other team blocked better than us, and they tackled better than us. It's that simple.
Right. And sometimes that's what it comes down to. It wasn't scheme. It wasn't X's and O's. Nobody outthought each other.
Yep.
It came down to some basic stuff.
Yeah.
How come we didn't keep going? We ran out of gas. The cars. Right. There was no more fuel in the car.
Yeah.
That's what it came down to.
Yeah. Our boy didn't take a J step.
Yeah.
Tried to take a shortcut.
Well, guys, we're almost out of time here. I appreciate you both, coming down and having to talk and going over all this offensive stuff for all our listeners. Any last words of wisdoms as far as the offensive stuff we talked about? And
no. Hey, my words of wisdom is what Coach Anderson think we can do. I mean that's really what it is. Usually, Coach says, "Hey, that's there, right there." Usually it's there,
once a game, once a year.
That's that's good advice though. I mean, right? Yeah. It's like if the chef comes out of the kitchen and says, "Don't eat this," I'm probably going to listen to him, right?
Yeah.
And if the O-line says, "Don't run that," I'm probably going to listen to him.
I've learned the hard way a few times on that.
No doubt. And I'm not ready for the scooter up the stairs yet. By the way,
you sure? Yeah. You sure? I've gotten 3 quotes.
Well, hey, it comes with a nice chest, maybe.
There you go. Well, Coach Anderson isn't going anywhere, even if we do have to get that scooter, because he's looking for that section title. And I know Coach Mosa is too, as am I, looking forward to watching that happen. Again, I thank you both so much. I got nothing but love for you. Looking forward for the upcoming season, the new revamped Motherlode League, and watching Calaveras get back to where they're supposed to be in the Motherlode League, which is right on the top.
Agreed.
Go Hawks.
So, hey, I want to thank all of you out there for listening. Thanks to Scott Anderson and Manny Mosa for taking the time out of their busy schedule to be here today. Remember, if you have any questions or you would like for us to address or have any comments, hit us up on Instagram and Facebook now on Let's Talk Football with Coach Val. or you can email us at gilbertvaltierra@gmail.com. Until next time, we are out.
And it's intercepted. It's intercepted by number 22. That's Clifton. He's got the left edge. Turns on the Jets. Still on his feet. Touchdown, Calaveras. What a play. Up to a running back. That's Ferrante over to the right side. He comes back up the middle. He's got room. One man to beat. He turns on the Jets. There he goes. Touchdown, Calaveras. What a play.